do summaries. I know.
And then I listened to it and it was a blur. So
it was a little bit of a blur.
And they were kind of short chapters too. I felt like they were
They
quick.
moved quicker. Yeah.
well, imagine listening to those songs.
I wanted to.
I could play it for you.
I
later.
finished it like an hour ago.
Whoa, nice
Or like
move.
So it's fresh for you.
Yeah. Or not.
I was so
Set in
confused by everything.
Wow, so confused
It
by
felt
everything.
We'll clear it
confusing
up.
to me too.
All right, good.
I don't know why.
There were, yeah. These
I just like it. Just felt like
You want me?
there was some weirder
I know
stuff
I'm
that happened in these
staring at
chapters.
it. It looks so good, but I left my tea.
Hold on, I gotta find this.
I think I listened to the first chapter, but I can't pay attention to it when I listen to it. So then I read it, and then that felt better.
Oh yeah.
I
okay.
liked reading it way better.
Really?
So I'm just gonna keep reading it. Yeah.
Just
have-
because you have the worst reader.
Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, you're just gonna trash talk every time.
No, I'm just bad at like.
Honestly,
listening in
I
general.
think that happened to me. That's why I don't know what the heck's went on.
I can't comprehend it. Like it literally goes in one ear, not the other.
Well, I was driving for one of the chapters.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes I have to sit next to a book and
That
like
was
read it while it's being
tricky.
played.
Some books are so good for audiobooks, and I think
Mm.
other books are just like not conducive to
Hmm.
it.
Honestly, I'm kind
Not
of with you.
good.
I don't know if Lord of the Rings is very conducive to an
I
audiobook.
do not think so.
It is. If you're when I'm walking and listening, it's so
Yeah.
much
Okay.
better than
yeah.
driving and listening.
Yeah.
So like I've done that and it's like entertaining for sure.
Excuse me.
Do you have a
Yeah.
nice quick like go back 10 seconds, go back 30 seconds button?
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
I feel like I'd have to do that a lot.
Yeah.
With
I-
names of
Yeah.
places and
The
little
thing
things.
is, I
like, whoa, what
used to do
happened?
that and now I don't care. Because it'll just come up again. If it's important.
Yo.
It's like we're
Yeah,
in Middle
true.
Earth.
Or
That's
I'm
all
just
that
gonna
matters.
talk with someone about it. So
Yeah.
it's
That's
fine.
true. True.
We'll be like your spark notes. We'll
Yeah.
just clear up each chapter.
Yeah,
there were a
that's the
few
only
moments
way
where I
I'm
was
gonna
like,
get through this.
yeah. I was
think.
kind of curious what was happening in some of these chapters. There was one
Yeah.
that doesn't happen in the movies that I was like, I don't know what is going on now. They kind of like remade it in the movies a little bit, but it's gonna be fun
What are you
going through that.
I don't even know the chapter names or anything.
A conspiracy unmasked.
Dun, dun.
I don't really remember that.
Sounds intense.
The
I
first two chapters were not good for me, and then
Really?
the last chapter was very confusing.
Why?
Well, that was on
Wasn't
the
that the last one?
fog on the bro.
When the
Burrow Downs.
stone
With
and
the-
the
Oh,
was
The
that it?
boggarts.
my precious.
Yeah, seriously, yeah, it really was fog on the Barrow Downs. That was a weird chapter. I didn't know what was happening because I hadn't seen it. It was in the movies at all.
Mm. Yeah,
I'm like-
this whole chunk
Yeah,
was not in the movies.
very
It,
new, very
uh,
different.
And maybe that's
That's
what
why
it-
it was exciting
Yeah.
for me. I was like, this is so
Yeah.
cool.
It was kind of fun.
Who gave them their swords in the movies? Was that
Well, I think that must still
Aragorn.
be
Aragorn?
coming, right? Yeah, Aragorn
Strider
does,
gives them
right?
the swords. Yeah,
And then at some point, the elves give them other gifts.
Yeah,
but
they
then
give
that
them-
might be.
But
that's
these are
later.
the swords that they have, right?
And that's
And
it
then
for the rest.
Tom
They're just
gave
like,
them.
cool,
yeah.
we're set.
yeah. Tom gives them.
guess
I mean,
the
it's
sword.
pretty cool.
Bombadil.
I
I'm like,
love-
who is Tom?
Tom.
Yeah. What was
Greatest
it?
question
question.
ever.
Weren't you guys talking about him
He
like
just
in the?
comes out of
Yeah, he's the only
nowhere.
character that I knew was coming, but I didn't think he was gonna be like this.
But
I
you don't know
what.
anything
He-
about him still.
No, and I was like, was he in the
He's
Hobbit? I
like
think he was.
older
I'm like,
than the
no.
forest or
Well,
something.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm like,
He
I
is,
just thought he was
yeah.
like
The
a jolly
master.
dude. Now I'm like, he's.
And
like,
then you
he's so
sing
weird.
his song and he saves your life. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is great.
And the funny thing is, no one who knows Lord of the Rings. I was listening to some people today, and they say no one really knows who Tom is. Like, it's not an allegorical thing of like this is like God or the because he's already created all that stuff. Tom is just some old dude. Someone was telling me that Tom was based on Tolkien's like son's or daughter's doll.
What?
Like there was a doll in like the room that looked
Wow.
like this old jolly man. He's like, I'm gonna put this guy in my story and make him older than any other person on all of Middle Earth.
Is he a hobbit though?
No, he's a man. I don't know. Maybe he's
No, because he's
not
smaller
like,
than
what
men.
size is he?
He's
Smaller
bigger than a
yeah,
hobbit,
yeah,
He's like a
smaller
dwarf.
than men.
he's a dwarf, an
That-
old dwarf.
yeah.
And then he felt very like elven to me with all his knowledge.
He was
but
so
then I don't know.
Annoying.
Really?
I was
I love
so,
him.
Singing. It
Well,
was so
maybe it
I
was just because
love
the
him.
audiobook, but I was like, dude, can you give me a straight answer, please?
Yep.
I was like, every
And then
single
he's
thing
just
that happens in this
laughing at
book.
it.
He's like, well, maybe not even a straight, yeah, well, yes, a straight answer, but there's also a point where everything that they say, he sings something back to me. If I'm sitting
Yep.
and eating dinner and I ask my host a question and goes, whoa, I'm like, no, shut up. Hold on.
Like,
I don't want you to sing
But
this back
when
to me.
I
Can you
read
just
it-
tell me this straight up?
When I read it, I rap it mentally, so
Oh,
I love it, and it like
Raps
gets it.
it.
It just gets over faster, and
kinda
then the
love that,
rhythm is
actually.
great.
Oh,
So Tom's pretty
that's
cool in my
funny.
mind. I'm just saying.
Yeah, fair. I was reading it much quicker, and an audiobook might have driven me nuts.
Yeah.
It was
Was it
nuts.
slow singing?
It was just like he performed.
Oh,
Cause like
wow,
hearing the
okay.
song does nothing to me. Like I don't
Hmm.
need that. I can just read it and I get
Yeah.
the same. It's like a poem, you know.
Right.
I like maybe
Spoken word.
Yeah, I like that. He's doing spoken word would not be
Slam
Can you
poetry,
imagine
guys.
He does a slam poem every single time someone
That-
asks. That would be
I
more
would still
annoying than
love
someone
him.
singing to me. He's like they're all moody and dramatic, doing his like slam poetry. But if he's just like speaking in normal poetry, I wouldn't mind him. I love who this dude is, but I also hate him.
Yeah. Well,
He's like
and
a
then
weird character to me.
at first, it felt like he didn't care about anything.
Yeah.
But then by the end, I liked him. I could tell he cared deeply
Yeah.
about people, or like hobbits in this case. But it almost felt like he had so much control and awareness that he just wasn't worried.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'll get you out of this thing. I'll just sing a little tune. No big deal.
It's 'cause
Yeah.
that's
How does
you.
he get like?
Well, but it was
summoned?
annoying where I'm like, the lives are at stake. I
Yeah.
feel like we're watching
There's
them
no
almost
big
die
deal.
twice, and he's just singing around.
That would be you.
Oh.
Maybe, but it was weird.
It's fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry.
And
I
the
got you.
dancing and the whole thing. Like, I think I wanted him to be more real, but he just didn't feel real.
Yeah.
And so in the end of this, we were talking about dreams before. This feels like it could have been a dream of theirs. You know what I mean? Like if they didn't, in a few days, if they didn't have the swords given to them, they might look back and think none of that was real. Because it just felt so crazy. Yeah, that whole thing was just
And
weird.
yeah, it felt crazy and felt weird. If I'm just reading this, I like know, because I know some Lord of the Rings stuff. I know Tom is a good character. He's like pure and good, and he's okay. But I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who doesn't know anything about Lord of the Rings. And when I was reading this chapter or listening to this chapter, I was so suspicious of him.
Yeah.
I'm like, he seems so shady. He comes in.
I didn't trust him
Yeah,
for a while.
in the forest, the forest essentially leads them to Tom. It leads them to a willow tree, and the willow tree eats them, and then Tom's just singing through the forest, and they're like, "Help! Help! Help!" And then I feel like the forest leads them to Tom. Tom is like forcing the forest to take them to this tree. He rescues them. He brings them to his place, and I'm like, this could be like a powerful sorcerer who's putting some kind of
Yes.
spell over them, like, and keeping them locked up in this thing. I didn't know about this too. When he puts on the ring and doesn't disappear, I was like,
Oh,
I
that
was
was
so
weird.
I
at
thought he was like a
odds.
full blown wizard at one point because I was like,
Yup.
he's not like being affected by any
Yeah.
of this.
I still don't know. Like,
I don't
what
know.
happened
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
But that was like over the line. But that first night when they were going to bed, I'm like,
Yeah.
what's going to happen?
sleep with one eye open, and
Yeah.
they because they were all falling into like a super deep sleep.
Mhm.
They were like so at peace, and I was like, this is the point in any story when they're so at peace. That's like the Red Wedding. Everything's going perfect, and all of a sudden everything goes terrible.
And this is about to be like the third time in just a few chapters
Yeah.
that they fall asleep when they're not supposed to, and they almost die.
All right, well,
Sensing a pattern.
we're gonna keep talking about this in a bit, but welcome
Yeah.
to the podcast. I'm John,
Jen.
Danny.
And Lizzie.
and this is the Fellowship of the First Time Readers. All right, there's a lot about Tom that I kind of want to talk about, but chapter 5 is a conspiracy unmasked. What is the conspiracy that they're unmasking? What happens in this chapter? Let's do a summary. We forgot to do summaries
yeah,
before. Sorry about that. Let's do a summary of this one.
Frodo and company debrief at his new house and make a plan to leave by morning.
Mm-hmm.
Fatty stays behind. So the conspiracy is
Love
good old
Fatty.
Fatty Bulger. Again, a character not in the movies, didn't know he
Yeah,
existed,
same.
and kind of a loyal dude, doing the
Yeah.
hardest job,
Seriously,
just
he
waiting
is
doing the
around for a
hardest
bunch
job.
of black riders to come along.
Yep.
So the conspiracy was Frodo and the ring, basically.
Yeah.
And unmasked. I think the book it's giving so much more depth to Merry and Pippin.
Oh my gosh.
They're
yeah.
just so great, and they're
Yeah.
so much smarter than they come across in
Yep.
the movies, and you need comic relief. I get that, and Peter Jackson does a great balance of comic relief through fighting and whatever. But I love that they're on top of this, and that they picked up on this, and they already picked up on it with Bilbo even before Frodo, and that it was already discussed, and they're going with him. And in the movies, they just like bump into them in the field, and it's just funny. Do you remember any of this stuff from the movies?
A little.
Because it just feels like is reshaping how I view the character.
Because they meet him in Farmer Maggot's crop, and they just randomly bump into him. But the books flesh their characters out so much better. They're so much more loyal. They're so much smarter. And I also love, we'll talk about this later, but that Tom gets his information from Farmer Maggot. It made Farmer Maggot such a more interesting
All of a
character
sudden,
now.
he's a boss.
Yeah,
I'm like,
he's hanging out with Tom Bombadil.
respects him?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I was like, Farmer Maggot was just a grumpy person in the movies. Now I'm like,
I don't even remember him.
put some respect on his
I
name.
didn't know he
You maybe
existed.
don't
You don't
even
see
see him.
You see
You
the
just see
scythe.
that's it, right? Like something in the field, and they're running away from it because you know that Merry and Pippin stole a bunch of stuff because they've got armfuls that they drop, and Sam's like, "You've been into Farmer Maggot's crops," and then they go running off.
Yeah.
Wow,
But
you know this one.
It's just a funny dynamic that is totally shifting, and I love seeing that in the book where characters now change.
Yeah.
So are getting to see new characters or characters that are now deeper and better. And so far, every character is better than I pictured them.
Yeah, same.
It's great.
And I want to talk about Frodo specifically almost at the end when they're kind of like fighting through something, because he makes a decision in his mind, which is really, I think, a fascinating one for the writing perspective. But on writing perspective, I say the one thing that kind of threw me off, and I want to hear your guys' opinion on this, is all the perspective shifts. Like in the beginning of chapter 5, when they're unmasking this conspiracy, you're in Sam's perspective for a little bit, and then it switches back to Frodo's. It throws me off a little bit, especially coming from Harry Potter, where it's you're only in Harry's mind, and there's very few chances where you're not in his mind. And I think this book's going to necessitate that you're out of one character's mind more often, but it does throw me out of the story a little bit more.
I feel like there was a moment where the writing threw me out of the story, but I don't even remember where it was. So now I'm curious when those moments happened. Did you
I was
notice?
thrown so far out that I don't even know it.
It's like
I'm like, I don't even know what
the least of
happened.
my worries.
I don't think
I
it
didn't-
bothered me. I didn't really notice it.
Mm.
But I noticed like way later when they're all dreaming that it like, I forget what it was called, but it was like, this is what Frodo dreamed about, this is what Pippin dreamed about, and it like went down the line.
Yep.
Like that I liked
Hmm.
because it's like spotlighting everyone still at the moment.
Yeah.
But I don't think it bothered me because I feel like I've read other things apart
Yeah.
from Harry Potter in that time.
It's
You
the
know?
only thing I ever read, okay?
I read more than one book actually.
Whoa.
But I will say that if you have a story like this, I think it's going to be more engaging if you're in one character's mind, which is, I mean, Tolkien's dead. He can't rewrite this, but I think it would be interesting if you just wrote this from like Sam's perspective or from Frodo's perspective only. It's impossible because
I feel like I'd get bored of
for
it.
different reasons, but maybe, yeah.
But
I also think that maybe this is necessary too, because the Fellowship is like a completed unit, and so you have to see all their different perspectives through. It's like Canterbury Tales almost, which
Oh gosh.
it's like each
I
character has their own like
Only
song,
remember a little bit.
and so I think this is going to be good, but it just does throw me off a little bit coming from other stories. What do you guys think of hobbits?
I like them.
love them.
Yeah,
You love them?
I love them from
Yeah.
the movies, but I love them even more in the books.
They're cute.
Because even I mean, part of the reason why I'm asking that too is
They seem like innocent.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like they want to do the
Yep.
right thing.
yes, and that's kind of what I think too. Like I'm driving at, they seem like they do the right thing more often than not. Like yes, some of the hobbits are grumps, but like the host that we have, like there was one line that was so touching. It says, "You can trust us to stick with you through thick and thin, to the bitter end. And you can trust us to keep any secrets of yours closer than you can keep it yourself. But you cannot trust us to let you face trouble alone and go off without a word. We are your friends, Frodo." I love that.
Yeah.
It
So-
doesn't even seem real though.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm like, who says that?
Yeah, it doesn't. But it's like, such a good point. It's like more quaint about friendship. It's like
if you're gonna die, I might not be with
Yeah.
you.
But I do love how he writes
Destiny.
about friendship here. It's like these people are
No.
sticking with
Yeah.
him, sticking by his side for anything.
Or even like keeping a secret. That was sweet how they said it.
Yeah,
To
seriously. Like we'll keep your secrets even better than you can keep them yourself.
The same reason I like hobbits, I don't like them. Like they're very predictable, even with like just being well fed and then like taking naps in the sun. Like
Yep.
I know that that's gonna come back and be like really annoying, or like that's gonna get them in like a situation they don't want to be in. Like I just feel like they're so innocent and like simple in that way that like that's gonna be frustrating.
Mm.
Because, like, then they're the ones that are, like, bearing the burden of the ring, getting it all the way back. But, yeah, I mean, the loyalty, I underlined that whole thing that you just read. I love that. I don't know. I think they're just, like, nice and enjoyable so
Yeah.
far. And I trust them. Like, the whole little crew right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
True. I
I
feel
get-
like
Yeah.
it's Hagrid trust for me, where it's like I trust them to have good hearts, but I think of them as being clumsy or not so street smart.
Yeah.
It said they don't lock their doors in the Shire. And so it feels like, again, that same thing. They're like, oh, Tree, let's just take a nap. Let's hang out. And I am worried that's going to get them in more and more trouble because it already is.
I think Tom even says that at the end. He's like, I'm sticking with you now because I don't
Yeah.
trust you guys to get out of this domain. So he's like
Mhm.
sticking with them until they get to this one spot. So they're not like, the best navigators. Which
Yep.
again, I'm excited for parts of this story because I think we're seeing some of what Tolkien wants us to see, and like there's flaws in these characters already. And how is the rest of the Fellowship going to fill in some of their flaws? So far, this book seems like such a great commentary on friendship. I'm like so into it because like they're great friends right now, but they still have things that are lacking, and like it's okay because they don't really need it. They don't know any different really, but like their loyalty to each other and their like devotion to one another and how they're there through like thick and thin and they understand each other. I'm so into it right now. I think this is so great.
And I think it's deeper too than just all good. They have that like a banter that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And even I like that Sam was their little spy.
Yes.
Because
it's so great.
It a little bit bothered me.
Yeah.
And it almost felt not unloyal, but a little like, oh, they're mischievous.
Yeah.
And I think it again came from a good place, and they care deeply about Frodo. And then Sam was face scarlet up to the ears. So like he does feel guilty. He knows he shouldn't have been doing that. So I do feel like there's a lot more depth to it. It's playful. There's banter. They're good friends. They get moody, but they're okay with it. It just feels like great. I love this.
Yeah, I'm with you. What else do you guys have in this chapter? So I have one question at the end. I don't have a ton. I have like 3 questions for each chapter that I came up with.
Bilbo wasn't that careful. Mary said he never left the book about talking about Bilbo.
Yeah.
Is that like the book where he was writing like there and back
There and
again?
yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
And he wanted to read that book, but he never got to. So they only heard some of the tales that he told about the story. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what they were referring to. I caught that and I was like, yeah, that has to be it because they were talking about like some of the tales that Bilbo had been on. So I'm pretty positive.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And in the prologue, I was getting confused because it felt like they mentioned like 3 different books that were history things. And
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
So let's be dream interpreters here because Frodo has a dream at the end. It says when at last he had gone to bed, Frodo could not sleep for some time. His legs ached. He was glad that he was riding in the morning. Eventually he fell into a vague dream in which he seemed to be looking out of a high window over a dark sea of tangled trees. Down below, among the roots, there was a sound of creatures crawling and snuffling. He felt sure that they would smell him out sooner or later. Then he heard a noise in the distance. At first, he thought it was a great wind coming over the leaves of the forest. Then he knew it was not leaves, but the sound of the sea far off, and a sound he had never heard in waking life, though it had often troubled his dreams. Suddenly, he found he was out in the open. There were no trees after all. He was on a dark heath, and there was a strange salt smell in the air. Looking up, he saw before him a white tower, standing alone on a high ridge. A great desire came over him to climb the tower and see the sea. He started to struggle up the ridge toward the tower, but suddenly a light came in the sky and there was a noise of thunder. What the heck was this dream talking about?
Well, I wrote in the margins, what does this dream mean? And I don't know. But I'm projecting some of the movie on it, and I'm trying to think, like, there are some scenes where they jump into other things and show you things that are brewing. So my first thought, well, I don't remember first thought. My thought as you were reading it now was that this is where orcs are being, like,
okay.
built
Made,
up,
yeah.
made. And I'm thinking of a scene, but I think it was in the second movie where it's below Isengard and they're like in the caves down there, and you're seeing like an orc birth out of the mud, basically.
Yeah.
That is what it felt like.
That white tower that like the wizards fight in.
Yeah.
But then White Tower is weird too, because
I don't know the names
the
of the
elves
big
have a
tower.
white tower near the sea. Didn't they say that? Like there were
Yeah.
near the Shire.
This is by the
there's-
sea too.
Yeah,
so
so
they're smelling the
then I
salt
feel
there.
like the dream shifted, and then he all of a sudden that would be like the Greyhaven,
yeah,
like
that's
elf
kind of what I was thinking a little
thing.
bit. Yeah.
But then that's not something we saw in the movie that I remember. So it feels like we're seeing two
foreshadowing.
different things,
Mm.
maybe. So
Like the
Frodo
beginning of
wants
this
to
to
climb the
me,
tower.
like the foreshadowing, the creatures crawling and stuff like underneath. I'm like, that seems like the Barrow Downs, the tangle of trees down below, the roots, the creatures crawling.
Hmm.
That seems like the Barrow Downs, and I was like, oh, okay. When we reread the stream, I was like, that makes sense. But the rest of it, I don't know if this is like a foreshadowing of everything they're gonna see. But the sea part throws me off because I'm like, do they ever really go to the sea?
Right.
I don't think they do. I don't know. So I don't
Somebody
Yeah.
check the map.
Yeah, I know. I know. I
What's
need a big
next
map
to
here.
it?
I forgot about that.
I was thinking
What about
Isengard
the
too,
end?
just because it's
Don't
like
they,
a
like-
tower.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I don't know the timeline, but I was like, maybe like was White at the beginning when he was like a
Ooh,
good
that's interesting.
wizard or like a normal wizard,
Hmm.
and then everything like turned dark.
And this
later.
could be, because again, it said like below the roots of the tree. I'm thinking this is when there's still the forest there, because in Two Towers is when he's
Yeah.
like
The
cutting
end.
the
True,
whole
yeah,
forest
yeah.
down.
And then there's like a
And
blank
then that's
spot.
where the
Ooh,
orcs
yeah, I
are
love
really
that.
starting to.
Definitely.
So this could be like the earliest foreshadowing of Isengard being like built into something evil now.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think of it being potentially a white
I don't
tower
know what you're talking
before.
And I mean, it could look different from movie to book too. So maybe this is
Yeah.
really the movie depiction of the, or the book
Maybe it's
depiction of
always
this.
White.
Yeah.
It also
been
reminds
white.
Because
me of
isn't
Rings of
he
Power.
wears white, right? In the movie?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Hmm.
Either way, I didn't take the dream to be good.
Yeah,
It wasn't
it's
good
ominous,
news.
for
I was
sure.
like, and there was another dream, I think, or maybe even two more. Oh, but then of course one of them was like a fake dream.
yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like when
What about
dreams
the
come up,
one-
I'm always skeptical.
Oh no, never mind.
Oh.
This reminds me of like the elves in the Rings of Power.
Because they're out at the sea.
When they're out at the sea and then the light comes and they're like going to the next world.
Yeah.
Like, they graduated being a soldier or something.
Yeah, yeah.
That one.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's like one of the first scenes in Rings of Power. Yeah.
And the I don't know, is there a noise of thunder? Or it could be the eye looking for the ring, the light.
I thought it could be that too. Maybe they're like leveling Mordor right now, like cutting out all the trees in it or something like that. I don't know. But next chapter is chapter 6, which is the Old Forest. What happens in this one?
I'm happy to keep doing summaries, but also if anyone else wants to, feel free. All right, Old Forest. I didn't write one.
This one's actually kind of
They
simple.
walk
this
through the
is-
woods.
Yeah,
They
they walk
get
through
to
the
Tom
woods.
Bombadil by the end
Yeah.
of this one.
The forest is like shifting and changing, like the staircases of Hogwarts. It's the only book I ever read.
That's fun.
Nice.
And then
That
they come
one.
to this willow, and then the willow, they like is
Makes
eating
them all
them,
get
and then all of a
sleepy.
sudden, they call out because Tom Bombadil is coming singing through the forest. You okay, Jeff?
Classic.
Yeah, Lizzie's line was just so great. I read other things in Harry Potter.
That's what you're laughing.
Yeah.
It was a good line.
And then I'm thinking I'm only reading her spin-off. So I read Harry
Yep,
Potter and
that's it.
Robert Galbraith.
You only read one
Anyways.
author. It's okay. That's our
Whatever, it's
foray.
okay.
It's our foray into books.
Oh no, I read Demon Copperhead too.
There you go. And then they finally meet Tom in the end of this.
The forest is so much darker in the books. Like the trees are actually like actively attacking people. And I feel like in the movie they were just like, oh, like we deserve respect and like
But
we're a sacred forest.
that's Fangorn. That could be
Oh.
different from
So
this one.
yeah, that's what's weird too. Like, are they gonna have different personalities?
Yeah.
And then like,
East Forest.
Oh wait,
What
is
is this one
Fangorn
called?
a tree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Each forest is a different fraction of how they.
now I gotta look back at the map.
Wait,
It's
I
a
didn't
different
think about
culture.
this.
Maybe Fangorn treats people nicely, and the old forest,
Wait,
there are a
I
bunch
need
of
this map
snooty,
too.
grumpy trees.
Maybe
Were the maps
print it
only
out.
at the end? No, there was one at the beginning.
Because I'm
too.
with you. This forest, like, and I think Lord of the Rings actually does that well. Because I was looking at this with, Mirkwood or something like that in The Hobbit.
The Hobbit.
That forest seems so dark, and
Ye-
some of the other
yeah,
ones
true.
don't seem like Fangorn doesn't seem quite as dark. This place seemed like it was manipulative.
Bad,
It
yeah.
was like gross.
Yes.
Like it just like took you into
Yeah.
further and further.
And then finally, Frodo's like, "We need to follow the road. Then this is getting terrible." This forest seems dark, and I think they mention this forest in the movies too.
Oh, this is all the Shire. Okay, so they. Oh, Old Forest. Okay, cool. So they cross the river. Old Forest, pretty intense. And there's the river. Yeah, that is a strange one. I also feel like I am always assigning. I feel like the book is leading us there, but there's like an emotional element, or when Tom Bombadil was singing, it's like you have to treat the forest well
Yeah.
if you want it to treat you well. And so the one song Frodo sings, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, just like, ha ha ha, let's burn the forest down. Or what does he say? And the song ends with, for east or west, all woods must fail. And I'm like, why would you sing a song that says all woods must fail in it?
When you're in it.
Yeah, so it's just kind of funny. And it's
Fools seem to
about
be very
what it says,
offended.
despair not. So I don't know how it is, but all woods there must be end at last is another line in that song. So I'm just thinking, hey, Frodo, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
At least sing a happy song about how lovely trees are,
Yeah,
or
right?
something.
Yeah, do
because
something.
there's got to be some relationship here.
Some
And
kind of
even if they didn't
magic, yeah.
realize it at the beginning, hopefully they did by the end. And maybe they'll learn their lesson in the future. But they weren't putting good vibes out into the forest. For
I
sure.
know, especially because like song seems, or like poetry, however you want to interpret it, seems like it has such an integral part of this story. Like Tom
Music
seems
is something
to,
more
yeah,
important
love that.
Shoot, we did it again.
Like Tom is singing throughout the woods, and again, I think like how you create things like poetry and song in these books has implications on how like the rest of the world responds to you. I think it is interesting, like the way that Frodo is talking about these things in the forest. It seems to like suffocate them even more from it.
Right.
This forest seemed very responsive to them, which is creepy.
Didn't it like dump him into the stream too? Like
Yeah, like
he was,
sleeping
like,
on his
sitting
roots.
on it.
Yep.
And I guess good thing too, because that maybe. Oh wait, no. How did he get out of that one?
Sam.
Did he just wake up, or did
think
Sam
he just
pull
woke
him out?
up.
No, somebody
I thought
grabbed him out of
Sam
it.
Grabbed
So
him.
Sam
Oh, yeah,
didn't
yeah,
fall
Sam-
asleep
mhm,
yet.
yeah.
Sam pulled him out. So plus 1 point for
For
Sam,
Sam, yeah.
or he gets credit for saving all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was good, because otherwise they would have just all died right there.
Yeah.
Story's
I feel like
over.
there's gonna be a lot of points in this book where they're like pretty much dead, and one character probably just saves them.
Yep. Because that was kind of Frodo waking
Yeah.
up in the next
Barrow
two
Downs, yeah.
chapters. Yeah.
And that was another point. When we get to that chapter, Frodo wins by singing. He feels better by singing. It's like song and poetry really have an impact on this story.
Yeah.
Which
Oh yeah, that's right.
it's interesting in real life. Yeah. Like if I'm in someone's house and all of a sudden they
They're
just
gonna
break out
start
in song,
singing.
I'm like, take a step back.
Yeah. Hold up.
Yeah.
Slow
What are we doing
down.
here?
Wait, don't you like that?
No, almost never. Just because I grew up with it doesn't mean I
I
like
was
it.
like
Like,
that. His family is like a musical.
Yeah.
They
At
all
some points,
agree.
everyone's whistling or humming a different
Yeah.
song throughout the
I don't mind
house.
that.
And I'm
I
like, oh
love
my
that.
goodness.
Or someone says something and then they start singing like
and it triggers a song.
Yeah.
a song that has that word.
I
Or
don't
in it.
mind that.
Different songs.
But if I say something to someone and their response is immediately, well, let me tell you,
That could
I'm
happen.
like driving. I'm
Goodbye.
like, dude, stop.
Like, yeah, come on.
Goodbye. I will see you when you're done with your song, and you can tell me straight up.
And that's why Tom felt annoying.
That's probably
That's
the only
why
reason why he
wasn't
felt
in the
annoying.
movie because
Well,
he wasn't
honestly,
serious.
but I also felt like this felt childish to me.
Yeah,
In a weird.
sing-songy.
By the time we got to the end of it, there was like innocence to it, and he felt so whimsical
they cut
that I can't imagine him being in the movie because it would change
Yeah.
the tone of everything so much.
That's it.
And I mean, I know we've said this before throughout all of Harry Potter, but now I'm like, if they were to make this into a movie, it would have to be a TV show, and it would have to be 12 episodes long for one book because they've already covered so much more than we've seen in the movies.
I thought it was interesting too that all these songs are in the movies in some way. Like there was one that they sang that was like "Cold Be Travelers Far From Home" or something like that, and Gollum just says that line.
Interesting.
And then most of the ones that the Hobbits sing are in other points, but they incorporate them in better ways. There's one where Merry and Pippin are singing in Rohan, and they're just singing together, and they're singing one of the exact songs that's in this. Merry sings one of the exact songs to Denethor in this. Even Bilbo, when he's leaving, he's singing the song that they sing in The Hobbit, which is reiterated in this. Like they do incorporate them really well in the movies, but just in passing. So like, which is I think is one of the best ways to do it. Because you're right, if they put a lot of these if they threw Tom Bombadil in this, would have changed the whole story. Would have made this a musical rather than anything else.
Honestly,
Like,
yeah.
you can go and see this on Broadway right now.
And he's like so beyond Merry and Pippin, and then
I
they're
know.
they're supposed to be the
Yeah.
funny ones. Like,
You're like, Merry and Pippin, you guys are funny,
Yeah.
but this is like a little extra.
way too much.
So, but I love how in the movies they sneak them in certain ways where I'm sure like nerd fans look at this stuff and they're like, that's the song that was in like, chapter 5. That's so
right,
cool.
right.
I think they did great.
Third time's charm. Keep catching it.
But yeah, I don't know. This is just the forest chapter. I don't have too much else in this chapter. I did like when Tom meets him and he goes, "Time enough for questions around the supper table. You follow after me as quick as you are able." Like it's a little rhyme that he had. But I like that I like that all things have their due time in this, and like hobbits know that and understand that and respect the rules of that. Like they have tons of questions, but they're like, "Let's have dinner first, and then we'll ask them around dinner."
Yeah.
Rather than
And then
me-
he's like, not now. We'll wait till morning.
yeah, exactly. Rather than me, who's like, if that happens to me, I'm not. Which again is part of the lore of this. Like, they're being lured into the woods by this character that we don't really know yet, who's just singing throughout the woods, who seems perfect right now, but could be really evil. And he's like, "No, just wait till dinner." And in my head, I'm like, red flag.
Yeah.
He's gonna like give them some
Yeah,
poison
right.
with dinner, and they're gonna be in a sleep forever.
And singing about yourself, just a song with your own
Yeah.
name in it is just like a little weird. I'm just like, you're
that's
singing
right.
what, like in third
Stop.
person? Like, I'm just like, even if you're
That
just a
is so
singing
true.
guy, like, you're like, it's my theme song
Yeah.
out here. It's just like
It
so
really is the Tom
strange.
Bombadil theme song.
So yeah, just
It's so funny. I was hiking like a few months ago. I don't know if I ever told this story. And I was going around a lake, and there was this guy that was singing at the top of his lungs around the lake. I was literally like probably 100 yards away from him, and he had a big boombox on him, and he was
wow.
belting it out.
That's
And then the
great.
boombox wasn't playing anymore, and he stood on this bridge that overlooked the whole lake, and he was singing about this girl that he really liked. It probably had to be like a 20-year-old kid, and I remember I forgot the girl's name, but he screamed at the top of his lungs. He goes long too. He goes, "I," and he waited for the echo. "Love."
Oh
And
my
then he said the girl's
goodness.
name, which I forgot what it was, but I was like cracking
That is
up.
wild.
And then he had this big staff stick, like he got
Oh
this staff
my
in the woods,
goodness.
and he wasn't like walking with it, like
Yeah.
a walking stick. He had it in the air, and he was like doing like a baton routine. So he was like
Oh my
marching and
goodness.
singing about this girl the whole way
That
through the
is
woods,
so
and
funny.
it cracked me up. but he was singing about someone else rather than Tom Bombadil is going through the woods with a stick.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
Tom Bombadil, that's my name.
So
It's ridiculous.
funny.
It is wild that this guy is. I don't know who this guy is. He's a strange
He's
guy.
the master, right?
Yeah, he's the master of the wood.
How does
or
he
master
get
of-
like summoned by the song though? That's what
that's a
I want to
great
know.
So many layers.
Yeah.
Yeah. What like?
Cause like, how is he hearing it, or like, who's telling him? Like, do the trees just go tell him that somebody needs help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Cause like he apparently can control the trees.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, it's like faster than a cell phone too, because
Yeah.
he's called like immediately and he's there.
Cause like they like communicate with the wind. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder if they just like send a little breeze,
Mm.
like a
I
little
like that.
rustle.
Little breeze.
Like I don't know. We're
I
just
actually love that because that's like it shows there's like a little bit more magic in this realm. Like Lord of the Rings, they had magic, but it's a bit like more hidden.
Hmm.
Like I like some of the C.S. Lewis stuff that he writes, and we read in book club we read what was the myth? Till We Have Faces, and there's the one scene where like the west wind seems to whisper something to a character, and then like she's finally able to see something. And I'm like, you know all about that? Remember that, Jen?
Yeah, it's the only one I finished.
I kind of like the idea that they are singing a song and like the wind takes a responsibility and like carries it on to Tom, and Tom just answers immediately. It feels like more magical maybe than the movies too. I kind of like that.
I don't really remember the.
I wrote kids book stuff. Makes sense to cut him from the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And this dude is weird.
He is weird. Which is anything else in chapter 6 where we hit 7, which is in the house of Tom Bombadil.
Well, my last comment was, "Who is the River Daughter?"
Oh my god.
is she an elf?
We get the answer.
She's-
Well, actually, we don't get an answer. We maybe just get more questions, but
Yeah,
at least
I
we
have more
know the
questions
name.
after
Yeah.
that, yeah.
I was like,
Oh,
what is
she's in the
this?
next. That's what I was. Gonna
Yeah,
ask about.
yeah.
What's her name again?
She was mentioned in his song
Goldberry?
too.
Yeah, Goldberry.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a great name.
Goldberry.
Gold.
It made me only made me think of Mighty Ducks, Goldberg. Every time I read that,
Oh.
Goldberg is the big goalie.
Nice.
Wait, isn't
Who
this
that
also?
is.
Oh my god.
So the one character bangs on the glass the one scene, and he goes, "Goldberg, I bet you if that puck was a cheeseburger, you'd stop it." And here I have Goldberry.
That's
All
an
I'm thinking
unfortunate
of
comparison.
Is Goldberry is Goldberg.
Wait, there was a cartoon on Nickelodeon, the gold, or the something.
Yeah. I
Isn't
know what
it
is, but I
Goldberry?
can't-
Is it?
It might be Goldberry. Maybe they got it from this.
I got it.
That'd be awesome.
I'm gonna Google while you talk.
That Goldberry was another person that made me distrust Tom. She seemed like she was under some
A
enchanted
spell or something, right?
and like was part of his like harem.
Did
Oh.
did you catch that in the one
Yeah.
song? Because she was like among the reeds,
Yep.
and then he was saying that like she's gonna go back and like bathe in the river, and I
Yep.
was like, wait, like
Tom, what are you
where?
doing? Are you
You're like,
watching this
what's
happen?
going on?
Yeah, in real
I think
time.
it's Huckle. No. That's not it.
Like he knows his,
Like,
like,
he
he knows like
cap-
her schedule.
Yeah, like I feel like he like captured her or something. I
It
don't
seems
know.
creepy.
But is she an elf or no? Because she definitely feels like
I'm
it.
reading the beginning of Fair Young Elf Queen, but I'm just trying
Yeah.
to. That was their
Thornberries.
perception of her,
What'd you
but maybe not true.
It was thornberries.
say?
The wild
that's right, yeah.
thornberries?
The wild
yeah.
Ah.
I thought they were
thornberries. Yeah,
goldberries.
people. Someone in chat is going Thornberry. Wild
it is.
thornberries.
Donnie, Eliza.
Thanks. You were faster than I could
Nigel.
Google.
You remember the name? I love that.
Nigel, that was a good name.
But yeah, she seemed weird. She seemed either enchanted or in on the whole thing. Like,
But then it was weird because I felt like everyone else was under her spell
Yeah.
too. So then that made it feel more even where I was like, oh, because Frodo was like feeling his heart move with a joy that he did not understand. So I said love or relief, I don't know. So it just is funny.
I do like in this. I mean, the movies kind of
She's
portray
got
this
to be
as
hot,
well.
obviously.
Pictures.
Is that what you wrote in the margin?
Yeah.
She's got to be hot.
Isn't that like how they feel with
So
Galadriel?
she's hot?
though?
Question mark.
Yeah.
Elf? Question mark.
Definitely,
Because they're all smitten.
definitely. But I don't know.
Is she glowing too?
I
Probably.
feel like
what-
yeah, she was
Like
wearing
an elf,
like
you're
silver.
saying.
Yeah.
Cause right, they're like very, like they revere Galadriel just for being her. That's what I kind of felt like. They were like, we didn't even say goodbye.
Who's Liv
and then-
Tyler's character too? I feel like she
That's-
has.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's another elf.
They seem to have like aura around them.
That's
the
why
word,
she
yeah.
felt
Hmm.
elf-like.
And I like
Yeah.
that the chapter starts and Frodo is singing.
Yeah.
So something about this place is making even Frodo start to sing. And it's funny. It's like a song
Maybe she's making everyone sing.
that
Yeah.
that just came to mind, and it's like strange.
But like again, these are red flags to me because it's like you're doing things outside of almost your own
yes,
control.
yeah.
Like if they're going into a forest and all of a sudden they're singing, even if they're feeling feelings of jolliness and like happiness, to me, according to like ancient myths, that's when you're most susceptible.
Oh,
Like you
that's
go into these
interesting.
places
Mm.
and like, oh, it puts you at ease and you're comfortable, and then all of a sudden 20 years go by and you're this like fat lump and you're
Right.
you know,
Right.
you were so
Yeah.
comfortable that all the years passed really fast. I'm like, they could have just chilled at Tom
Mm.
Bombadil's for the entire time.
How
But-
long did they stay there? Because it felt like a long time.
Yeah,
That is a good
it
question.
was a whole time warp.
Well, it did feel like that. At some point, a comment was made, and I was like, "Wait, it's been another day? I thought it was yesterday."
Mhm.
Like, but they even said they didn't know if they'd been sitting there listening to his
Yeah.
stories for an hour or multiple days. But by that point, I was calm about this. Then I was
Yeah.
in the zone. I'm like, maybe I'm being lulled into it, because then I was like, I trust Tom now. This is
Really?
great. They're in paradise. Then I'm like, I'm picturing they're just in this great house with food and everything's awesome. And then I'm like, maybe people would sing more if they literally didn't have a care in the world. So it almost feels like the cares of the ring and all that jazz just went away, and they're like, you know what, this is pretty great here.
Mhm.
So then I got into it.
Yeah.
Once the creepiness, and I didn't think they were gonna die once that went away.
I think the only reason that it's away from me is because I know that Tom is like he's like a good character, almost like a neutral character in this series. Like, part of me was questioning even when he puts on the ring, he's not affected by it at all. I'm
Yeah.
like, why doesn't he then take the ring?
Right.
He seems more powerful than anybody in the universe right now. Like Sauron doesn't seem like he'd be able to touch him. I'm like, is he just too good that he doesn't want to? Like, what
Did
is
he
his
actually put
motive?
it on, or was it
On
just like
his
resting on his
pinky, I think. Oh, but yeah, like was it like on or just
That
a
seemed
Seemed
little?
like it was
Yeah.
on.
I have to look close when we get to that part.
Because I remember Frodo made the comment of
Like-
like he thought it was busted after, so he put it on, and Tom sees right through him.
And Tom could see him when he's
Yeah.
invisible, so he's in multiple realms or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
Oh yeah.
And that was a good test because I thought he could have just swapped the ring and
Yeah,
stolen
seriously,
it or
yeah.
whatever.
But then, and that's the other thing too. Like he puts the ring on. Frodo hasn't put on the ring yet, right? Was this the first time that he put on the ring?
Oh, whoa, that's a good point. Because he knows what it's
feels
capable
like,
of, but
yeah.
yeah, he hasn't
I
put it
think
on
so.
yet.
Because there's the point in the movies where like the wraiths are like attracted to whenever someone puts on the ring.
I'm curious
don't
to
know if
see if
we've
that's
ever-
happening
I don't know
here.
if we're there yet.
I know, that's what I kept waiting for,
Yeah.
like for something to pop up saying like that it's attracting
Yeah.
or calling
Yep.
or the evil people are coming after. The
Yeah.
dark horse. I feel like that's
Yeah.
a good person now.
Because even in Tom's Land, it doesn't seem like they would even be able to come. Like when you're there with Tom, I think everything is safe and you're okay. Like nothing can touch
But
you.
is he like
Again,
before time?
yeah. It seems
And
like this is
that's
before
why it
time, and this
doesn't
seems
affect him.
outside of time. Yeah, I'm with you. Which is it's like a weird part of the story. But
You know, his weirdly
the
enough,
old
his comment
forest,
about
so-
Farmer Maggot feels the biggest wrench in this whole
Yeah.
thing. Where I'm like, if it wasn't for that familiarity or like Gandalf or like wait, what?
would he even be real?
Yeah, like this feels so strange. Like he might not be real.
Yeah.
But then that makes him feel like he actually is.
Hmm.
I don't know how to view him. But after reading this, it felt like he was going to be the kind of character who was major and was going to come back later too, you know, and have some role to play.
But he's
Yeah.
not in the
in
movies.
the future. Well, that's what I'm saying. He must not, but it
maybe
feels like he
they
would be a
didn't
big
want
deal because he feels so
The
powerful.
whimsical.
Because Gandalf is maybe they just don't want the whimsical part of this, which I think is a good
Yeah.
point. But Gandalf doesn't want to touch the ring. We know Gandalf is very powerful, and according to Rings of Power, you know, Tom is crazy powerful as well. But Tom has to be more powerful than Gandalf, because Tom puts on the ring, isn't affected by it. Gandalf doesn't want to touch it because he knows the power that he has. It's like
Yeah.
maybe Tom is just a little purer of a character than Gandalf. not susceptible to evil at all in any way.
But what's his power? He could talk to trees.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, this is the one line that you get. The trees and the grasses and all things growing or living in the land each belong to themselves. Now, Tom Bombadil is the master. No one has ever caught old Tom walking in the forest, wading in the waters, leaping on the hilltops under the light and shadow. He has no fear. Tom Bombadil is master. First of all, you're talking about yourself in the third person, my guy.
Yeah.
But I think one of my favorite things about him is just his like respect of all things. He seems like an observer, a watcher, like an enjoyer of this, rather than someone who wants to use this.
Yeah, so true.
So maybe he's just the most pure
that's
character in this
why.
whole
I
story.
was thinking, like, what if he already passed his test with the ring, like in another
Ooh.
life, or like, because he's
love
he's
this.
eldest, like he's
love
above and
it.
beyond all of it. Because then he was like, oh, let me see the ring, and like he knew what it was gonna do, and like he expected, like he could see Frodo. So like Gandalf
Love it.
didn't
I love
ever
this.
Gandalf didn't want to test himself because like what if he fails? But then like that's in the movies where everybody has their little moment of like,
Right.
is the ring gonna overpower me or not? So I wonder if, like, I was kind of thinking he might have already just encountered the ring and just been like, no, like I don't need it. I'm just good with like my land and my
Yeah. He's content.
Yeah,
content
I don't
on his land
know,
and his-
wandering through the
He's
woods.
the most
singing.
content person.
Yeah, seriously,
That's
yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also just wondering if there's something more to the forest itself, whether it's time or other things. Because if time doesn't exist in the forest, potentially, even if he was a regular character and he goes into the forest and he truly is so pure-hearted that he just wants to exist there in peace, if he's kind of outside of time or outside of the world, outside of just in his own little bubble, basically there, I feel like if he never left the forest and he understands this is my zone, he's just happy there. He never is impacted by anything going on outside. He never impacts anything going on outside. And he's just happy to let people come in and out as they want. And then that's why he never comes up again in the story. And again, he's just so content. He doesn't want to interfere with the trees or the world or wars or anything else. But I still don't know where he gets his power.
Yeah.
Unless the forest
Or-
gives it to him.
What power he has.
Yeah.
He's
Or
the
is their power
master?
connected to age automatically?
Maybe,
Like the
yeah.
older trees have more power, it seems, or knowledge.
Like everyone's
But-
capable of
but
being
he's
Tom
the
He like
Bombadil.
master of
sings
them.
into the tree and then it lets Mary go.
Yeah.
That was so weird to me.
Yeah.
He's learned how to talk to them in song.
Yeah, he's
That's
not like
so-
Maybe
commanding
he
them.
saved the forest.
Yeah.
Maybe. What's the
Back
deal?
in the
They kept saying he'd know nightly noises. And then there were nightly noises. And so just like, they
They're like,
know it's
"Hey,
a thing.
we're aware."
They're like,
Just-
okay, just like ride it out. You might have weird dreams. It's
Yeah.
going to be funky. You're cool. Just wait till the daytime.
This did feel
That was
all-
sketchy.
yeah. To me, this felt like if I'm like taking a trek through the woods and all of a sudden there's like some dude on like shrooms in the middle of the woods. That is Tom to me. Come to my shroom farms and sing
Yep.
songs, and even though you hear wolves, it's okay, dude. Don't worry.
Yep.
We'll just sing and like kumbaya. He seems like
Mhm.
that kind of character to me. Although,
like
like,
a
I think
hippie.
there's like more. I think there's good depth to him. I think that he is a fascinating character.
But it does
Um,
feel like the whole chapter or two could have just been a big old trip.
Yeah.
Where they
Yep.
stumbled across some of the mushrooms that Farmer Maggot gave
And
them.
they talk about
They
how
get high
hobbits
in the
are
woods.
mushrooms are hobbits' favorite.
Yep.
That's what they talk about in this chapter.
So they're just they're taking a trip, and
Frodo
and then
was
eventually
very
they come down
defensive
from
of
this
it.
after all their hallucinations, and then
Yeah.
and they're out of the forest. And honestly, was it even real, or was it
Yeah.
all in their heads? We don't know.
Was this inside time? Was
And
this outside
it
time?
goes
It's
back and forth
great.
between those things multiple times, except for the swords. Although they
Yeah.
could have just found that in a cave somewhere. in
That
the
fits so
forest.
well. And then they're all just like running around the field.
yeah.
They're like
Exactly.
slowly coming out of it. That's
Yeah,
so
did they
funny.
eat something right before this that like they had a trip through the entire? Yeah,
mushrooms.
was it the
Like,
mushrooms that they?
I
eat?
Yeah,
love that.
right?
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
adopt that.
I
And
kind of love
it
this
takes a
theory, right?
while for them to take an effect, right? So I don't know how long, but it
So-
feels like
chapters. Yeah, they
this
had
It's a whole
mushrooms
time
in
warp
chapter
anyway.
five.
yeah,
we
yeah,
don't know.
exactly.
They had mushrooms in chapter 5. They all went to bed expecting to wake up in the morning and go on their trek. And then their trek was they're all co-dreaming together. And they're dreaming about the old forest, the house of Tom Bombadil, and the fog on the Barrow Downs.
Wow.
I
Because that was
mean,
another weird chapter. We'll talk about that in a second.
Hmm.
It's so weird.
But yeah, it was weird.
Oh, because then one of the other dreams, the one that Frodo has, this is where I said there was like a vast tower, but not made by hands. Then there was a figure of a man and the moon. A light flashed with a staff he wielded. A mighty eagle swept down and bore him away. And this felt like, again, a movie reference. And it felt like things with Gandalf escaping the tower. But then I was like, but that doesn't, I feel like that doesn't happen yet. Or when, I don't, timing of everything is tough because I honestly don't know.
Yep.
And then I just don't know what was part of the book story versus movie. So whether that was Gandalf or not, I'm not sure. Or
I
Saruman.
know. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of weird things going on in this right now. And again, it's so different from none of these chapters are in the movie. So it's like, I understand why they cut them out. They're making a different movie out of this. But it's just more confusing, which is more fun 'cause it's like fun to theorize about this stuff.
It is fun.
But I'm with you. My theory is now they just had a trip. And then they're...
Like that's the
Tom's not
easiest
real.
to wrap my mind
Yeah.
around compared to like trying to make
Yeah.
sense of all of this.
Do you guys have anything else in this? The actually,
He was telling a story about badgers. Did you catch
I didn't even catch that. No,
Yeah.
was that one in one of his songs?
No, it said he was telling an absurd story about badgers and their ways.
Oh,
And I was like, I don't know.
love that.
Wow, he's
Yeah.
a Hufflepuff.
He's a Hufflepuff.
Exactly.
That's great.
I would love any story about badgers. Badgers are the coolest animals.
Tom's words laid bare the hearts of the trees and their thoughts, which were often dark and strange, and filled with a hatred of things that go free upon the earth. And then it says, gnawing, biting, breaking, hacking, burning, destroyers and usurpers.
cursed them.
And that's from the movie,
It's from
because
Treebeard
Treebeard says
yeah.
that. So I thought that was, again, Peter Jackson
Yeah.
crushed it with these
Yeah, agreed.
connections, where it was a different book entirely at that point, or a different movie.
Yeah,
Lots of connections. It's cool.
yeah. All these connections are really fun. These chapters, especially. I thought it was like overload in the first, but there's a lot in here that Peter Jackson put in the movies that like you don't necessarily know why they say it, but they're cool lines nonetheless. Like when he says that, you're like, oh, Treebeard, that's a cool line. Must have been thinking about that for a while, and he just stole that from Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Tom's weird. The lady's weird. Even this one section. So in this next one, Fog and the Barrow Downs, which we'll talk about in a second. But when they're leaving, Frodo's like, "Oh no, we didn't say goodbye to Goldberry," and she's like, "Hello, I'm
Yeah.
here." It's like both of these are so. They're, yeah, exactly. They should make a like a funny musical about this, like putting all the scenes that they missed in the actual movies, and that's the song that they're gonna do it. Hello.
What are you reading here, Jen? What do you see?
Read your quote.
Oh, it's the
Like-
quote of when Tom and Goldberry are in the kitchen getting ready for a meal, and it says, "They were merry and odd, but they had grace and laughter." And it's kind of like they're doing different things. In contrast, says, "Yet in some fashion they seem to weave a single dance, neither hindering the other." I thought that was cute.
That is kind of yeah. They seem to work well together, but part of me thinks that this isn't the only woman Tom tangles with.
Whoa.
Like she's just here for like the time being, and she's just like has the same vibe as him. It's like two people going out on a trip together,
Very
and they
cute.
just go through the woods
Yeah.
and just have a romp, and then she does what she wants. She gets up and leaves, and the next woman's gonna come into Tom, and
Right.
like Tom, yeah, it's a weird, but I don't know.
This is River Daughter, but then there's Sky Daughter or Rock Daughter, Tree Daughter,
exactly,
whatever
yeah.
else, you know?
Wasn't he talking about another woman though that died and to like respect them?
Maybe.
Remember that.
I don't remember.
Okay, so maybe not.
Yeah, well, no, I think you're probably right.
Yeah,
but there's
probably.
just so
It
much.
was- there was a lot
yeah.
packed in there.
There's a lot more detail.
Because
in
that's
these
where
than
I
there
was
is in
like,
Harry
oh, he's talking about Goldberry, how cute, and then it wasn't her.
Potter. He's like
And
reminiscing
I
about
was like,
his first
oh.
love or his 300th and
Because
29th
she
love.
died and Goldberry is alive or something like that. Anyway,
I couldn't
like a
picture the
phoenix.
dancing. It kept saying dancing. Like, I've just looked at the next page. I'm like, dancing at the doorstep. Like, what does this mean? They're just like
Yeah.
doing a jig. Like, I just could not picture it in any way that made sense in my head.
Yeah.
Every time
It's
I pictured
comedic
it,
in
I'm
my
like,
head.
it just made no
Like a
sense.
little Irish jig.
That's
they're
why-
Yeah, doing a
together.
jig.
Yeah.
Just like breaking it down in the doorway. Like, what is going
That's
on?
why he was like, nope. I'm putting this.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Part of me, I love the
director's
language that
thing.
he's using here too, because like in my head, I'm not picturing them as dancing, but I'm picturing their movements as being close to it.
Hmm.
Where like, you know, sometimes people walk down the street and they just move with grace, and they're like, oh man, that person like is the main
Right.
character in this story.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of true with Goldberry and with Tom. Like they're annoying. I'd be so pissed off eating dinner with them because they're just singing responses back to me. But like they're moving and they move with grace through the forest. They like are singing, but like maybe the singing isn't actual singing. Maybe it's just like how they communicate seems like singing, which puts me on edge because I'm like, this seems like an enchantment. But at the
True.
same time, because I know the movie is one of my favorite parts of the entire movies, is in the extended edition when Gimli's like, I asked for one hair from her golden head. She gave me 3. Like, that's my favorite section
yeah,
because
yeah.
all of them are under Galadriel's,
Yep.
like, whatever it is, like, aura. They can't, they
Like
think
they're
she's
all
so
just
stunning
dazed
and
look
beautiful.
on their
Yeah, yeah.
face as they like go away. Like
Yeah.
none of them can stop
Yeah.
thinking about it.
It's like Vila energy here. which-
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
But-
gosh.
And Tom has that as like as a male character, which is actually interesting.
Hmm.
Like I'm curious what other male characters, because Aragorn seems to have that in the movies. But I don't
Yeah, my fave.
know. Anything else in that chapter before we hit Fog and the Barrow
He
Downs?
looks just like
What? Sorry, I'm reading.
So,
I think that
Fog-
was it.
Fog on the Barrow Downs is another weird one too, where you can help me with this one because I struggled with some of this. But it seems like they were captured, they were brought underground. Like Frodo looks over his shoulder,
So weird.
and then
I didn't know what a white was.
I didn't either.
Is that how you say it? A white or
Yeah.
a
that's
wig?
that's how they said
Um,
it in
Yeah,
the
I don't
audio.
know.
White
Yeah.
like the color, like a white.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
All
I
right,
think so.
cool.
A barrow
Um,
white, right?
Yeah, a Barrow White. Yeah,
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
I don't know how to picture them. They're
Because this is
almost
like, from their
wraiths.
departure
I
to basically they
looked
get
on
out of the forest. But
Wikipedia,
Ooh,
yikes.
and they just look like little skeleton men.
ooh.
It with like long cloaks.
Wait,
Mentors.
what?
Do you want to see?
Yeah, let's see them.
And then it showed the little hut thing that they live in, which I found very helpful because I did not understand the context
Oh.
either.
You wouldn't have Googled it, would you?
Honestly, didn't think to. I think I would have.
2 standing stones like a doorway.
Oh, that's creepy. This whole chapter was unbelievably
Like
creepy.
that little thing. 2 standing
that
stones.
makes a lot of sense.
Oh, my glasses. Wow.
That was helpful because then that's like they like shoo them out of there. And then I'll show you the photo that I liked the best.
This
Like I really like this photo. I don't know if this is accurate, but that's the photo that I
Oh yeah, no
Like,
good.
I like that one the most.
Ooh, that's creepy.
But there's a bunch.
That is so creepy. Like what is this place in Middle Earth? Oh gosh, it's terrifying.
It's the same one.
No, it's different.
Ew.
I've never like heard of this
Wow.
creature. This creature is like almost, it feels like new mythology. for
Yeah,
me.
that's I was thinking the same. It sounded a little bit familiar, but in a different context. I'm like, I think Skyrim had some creature like this, but I just didn't understand what its power was.
Yeah.
But as I was reading it, I felt like we were supposed to know,
Yeah.
kind of. Where I was like,
He's
trying
just,
to figure it
he's
out as
assuming
we
that we
went.
know, and
yeah,
I don't.
That's why I had to Google it.
Yeah, that's why I have to Google this. The
I don't.
but, oh, so like that's what you're saying. The 2 huge standing stones, headless door. Yeah, wow.
Based on Norse mythology.
oh, interesting. I could see more Norse mythology being a little darker and a little bit like gloomier.
The final
Warm
battle
sun, the
of
scent
Beowulf.
of turf, lying
Did
a
you
little
read
too
that?
long.
No.
I don't
A
know.
sleep they
I
never
don't know-
meant
I
to
don't know the
take.
story. The dragon barrow enter the treasure.
When Circus was reading this, it was so creepy. Like in my head, I don't think I would have read it this creepy. But this one line that he read, I was like, I was just in my kitchen and I was like just doing something, and all of a sudden he read this and I like stopped because I was like, this is
Wait, what's the
so
line?
creepy.
I need to know.
it's a paragraph. He says,
Oh.
out of the east the biting wind was blowing. To his right there loomed against the westward stars a dark black shape. A great barrow stood there. Where are you? He cried, again both angry and afraid. Here, said a voice, deep and cold, that seemed to come out of the ground. I am waiting for you. No, said Frodo. But he did not run away. His knees gave and he fell onto the ground. Nothing happened and there was no sound. Trembling, he looked up, in time to see a tall, dark figure, like a shadow against the stars. It leaned over him. He thought there were two eyes, very cold, though lit with a pale light that seemed to come from some remote distance. Then a grip stronger and colder than iron seized him. The icy touch froze his bones, and he remembered no more. I'm like, that was so creepy.
Yeah.
When Andy Serkis read that, I was like, this is terrifying to me. Because there's a few
That
things in
caught
there.
my attention, I think, when I was
Yeah.
listening.
Because he says, even the line, he remembered no more. What power do these things have?
Yeah, really.
These things, like, they seemed at least in some way to wipe your memory.
Hmm.
Because Frodo's,
my
like,
God.
his last grip was, he's like, I need to sing the song that Tom taught us. And then he doesn't want to sing. He sings the first line, and then he's, like, brought out of the stupor, and he's actually able to sing the rest of the song, which I thought was really fascinating.
Oh, yeah. Is it not the same, like, time frame of they're in the cave and he sees it with a sword
Yeah.
on their throats?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
I think that came a little bit after.
Yeah, I'm remembering my walk now of hearing it.
yeah. Locations. But these creatures seem weird. They seem like, just because I have to relate everything to Harry Potter, they seem Dementor-like. Like they have you in some kind of clutches or some kind of grasp, and it's hard to like get yourself out of this. But Tolkien seems to write with a bit less like over the head, like hitting you over the head kind of knowledge. He just kind of seems to be more underwritten for some of this stuff, which
Yep.
I actually kind of like and I appreciate. Like it may be a bit more interpretive.
I just Googled it and I just looked. But I don't think this is spoilery, but it seems like they just inhabit like graves and other people's bones.
Yeah.
And then they like kind of I don't know like what's lore and what would be a spoiler, but like they kind of like use the bones like
And that would
currently.
make sense for all of the other stuff that seems to be in this little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost like a collection of bones or like leftovers from people.
That's creepy. That makes
Yeah.
it even creepier.
Oh, like
Because
the
they're
treasure?
just a spirit, but then they get like
But
sent
they can
into
control
here.
a little bit of. Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
I
And
think
scary.
they're not in the old forest anymore.
yeah, they are. They're still in the old forest.
I thought they left
think.
and they were in this
Because
like
Tom
grass.
Bombadil comes to get them. Though.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
Oh.
because I was thinking that maybe too, but I thought of then the old forest was Tom Bombadil's domain.
Yeah,
So
that's what it sounds
the
like.
song still worked and still brought him. So they were at least within his song zone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
The
I don't know.
frequencies
It's,
could reach.
Apparently, Rings of Power has Barrow-wights in it.
oh, maybe I didn't get there yet.
I was saying. I think it's in the beginning. No, I think it's in like the very first
Oh,
episode.
whoa.
It's these like characters that just kind of pop up. They look more like the Green Men, but just not green.
The
Oh,
they're like,
oh,
they're like
Green
skeleton
Men.
looking. They're
Okay,
skeletal
yeah.
looking,
Yep.
and they're like ghostly, with like blue
I
eyes.
don't like them.
Very creepy.
And I was
me
wondering
laugh.
the connection here, whether it was just that happens to anyone when they're in a scary situation. He's thinking about Bilbo and Gandalf and he's trying to encourage himself. They thought I was the best hobbit in the Shire. And that kind of brings him back to it. But I didn't know if there was an actual connection with the power, the darkness. He felt like fear was almost physical and like in the darkness around him. And then as soon as he started viewing things in a more positive way, he like came to a little bit more. So whether it was imagined or real, it felt like then along with bravery, light seemed to be coming out of himself.
Mm.
That was a change in the circumstance.
You gotta think of who you're fighting for.
I know, seriously. Because I will say too, at the moment when I'm reading this story, it feels oddly similar to like a Pilgrim's Progress kind of story, where like they're walking down the road and all of a sudden they get distracted by one thing or they get caught by another thing. It doesn't seem like there's, I don't know, not like downtime, but I don't know. It just seems like to go from one thing to the next. Like they get out of one plot and then the next chapter, which I mean is a good story, but like the next thing is like they go into this and the next thing is they go into this. I'm excited for when they meet the rest of the Fellowship, when they get to Rivendell, and then they can maybe like take a breather and we're like introduced to more characters and like they're actually more on like a journey together, I guess.
Right, right.
But I don't know. It seems like board game-ish to me, which is kind of fun. I actually don't mind it at all. Like they're on the next little
Like
journey
Monopoly?
here. Yeah. Or like a Candyland kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Like different adventures for different things. And I will say too, I love the characters' depth here as well. We were talking about this before, but there's the one moment where Frodo is singing, and then it says, at first Frodo felt as if he had indeed been turned into a stone by the incantation. Then a wild thought of escape came to him. He wondered if he put on the ring, whether the barrow weight would miss him, and he might find some way out. He thought of himself running free over the grass, grieving for Merry, Sam, and Pippin, but free and alive himself. Gandalf would admit that there had been nothing else that he could do. I was like, that's harsh by that Frodo's thinking about this, but I'm like, this is such a human response. This is such a good bit of writing because it makes him so relatable, because that's the first thought that would go through my head. And then after that, he cast that away from his head because he's like, I cannot abandon my friends. And that's, I think, when he thinks of the song right after. And I'm like, this is great writing. It makes these characters so relatable. I'm really into it right now.
Yeah, so much deeper.
But that's all I got in this chapter. You guys got anything else?
I guess Tom has to always wear the same outfit because the outfit is in his song. So it'd be pretty bad if, like, he's a merry fellow in bright blue and yellow, but then he shows up in a different color. So he just must have a lot of yellow boots, or he keeps his blue jacket real clean.
He's always got to be wearing yellow because that rhymes with, a fellow.
So
he can wear green and yellow or lilac and yellow or something.
I was picturing him like, is it Paddington Bear?
Yes,
because of the yellow boots with the blue jacket. So the whole time I
Literally.
pictured him like a big old Paddington. I was
Yep.
like,
I didn't want to
this is
say
just
it.
so weird. Like, so then this especially, I'm just like, he's the one who's coming to save them from trouble. Just like, so it's so weird.
Wasn't there? Whoa, that just shocked my memory a little bit. I just got brought back to high school. Didn't he take the form of a bear in The Hobbit?
Oh my goodness, that sounds so familiar.
I'm pretty
that's
positive
what,
he did.
That's what I've been wondering, because
So he is Paddington Bear.
he literally is.
That, and then he wears like a raincoat and yellow
That's
boots.
so funny.
You're right. And that's the character that I'm like, that is Tom Bombadil, right?
Yeah,
like, I
I
guess
think
it's
it
been a
is.
while since I read The Hobbit, but he was definitely a bear.
Yeah.
So then that is so funny, because then in this,
But
he
in that one,
doesn't take other forms.
This is like really taking me by surprise. They run into his house to evade Tom Bombadil because he's the bear and because he's dangerous. And then Tom like wanders around the property, and then by morning, I think he's back to his
not
normal
the
Tom
bear.
self.
It's like a
That makes
werebear.
sense. Like, he
Yeah,
was actually
a
dangerous.
He's where Paddington Bear.
That's so
Wow.
Wait, that's from The Hobbit? What do you got?
Yeah.
this is The
And it was
Hobbit.
like a real scary thing. But then it
Oh,
was
time
totally
out.
normal.
Different character.
Okay.
Everyone in chat. That's,
All right. Thank you,
That's
chat.
Beorn.
Bayorn.
Beorn. Okay.
All right,
okay.
well, we
So
lost our
We just
Paddington
went on
line.
that whole
You know.
tangent for nothing, but
Yeah, well, we're going to get to The Hobbit after all
Glad
this.
you got a
Yeah.
timeout.
yeah. I'll just cut
Is
all
Tom
this out.
in The Hobbit, or are we just making that up? Because then,
I don't. Maybe we're just making that up. Maybe it was
maybe I'm
Beorn.
totally making it up. And
Why
maybe
don't
what
you
I'm
Google
picturing is
it?
him.
I'm gonna type in chat. Is Tom in the Hobbit? Maybe he's mentioned in the Hobbit or something like that.
Hmm.
Wait, is
And-
The Hobbit comes before this stuff or after?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, all before.
Hobbit is all Bilbo's journey.
Hmm.
But
He named the horses or the ponies. Did you?
He did because I missed that. I only
And-
got his.
And the hobbits never named their ponies, and then
oh,
Tom
yeah,
named
yeah.
them, and they said they responded to that for the rest of their lives. And I was
I
like, I
did
think
see
Danny
that.
would like
then I'm
that.
like, but what are their names? I'm thinking one came to me. Bill the pony
Yeah.
was in something.
Yeah.
I think it was Sam's horse, and so I was waiting for that. The only one we got was Fatty Lumpkin. What? I'm here for Shadowfax, not Fatty Lumpkin.
Imagine what are they? Mules, horses?
Yeah.
Imagine you're this thing, and then all of a sudden Tom Bombadil calls you Fatty Lumpkin, and you're like,
Yeah, you're like great.
his name is Shadowfax, and you give me the name Fatty Lumpkin, and I have to respond to that for the rest of my life. Come on, dude.
It's just terrible, you know. But that's a
Also-
very Tom thing to do.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, exactly. Tom is not in The
Lumpkin.
Hobbit,
That
by the
could
way.
be good. Like,
Lumpkin.
I guess it's a
Lumpkin.
way to be positive about it, but
they already have a name.
I guess you could come up with good nicknames about that.
Good.
Better than Fatty Bulger. What were his parents thinking?
yeah.
This is a chunky baby. Let's call him Fatty. Do you guys have anything else in chapter 8?
No, just Bogart comparison and more references to history and the men
Yeah.
of Karn Doom. I'm like, wow, the
I will say
depth
this.
of this world.
This too, yeah, the depth of this is impressive. Where like there's probably like 50 things in each chapter that a character will mention that I'm like, there could be another book about that somewhere.
Yep.
Or like there could be just another like quick fact about this. Like it seems like he built this whole entire world before he like even put paper to pen.
Yeah.
Pen to paper.
Either way.
Yeah, that's how you write. You take a piece of paper and you
Oh,
this is
yeah,
impressive.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
different from like other fantasy realms that I've read because it seems like sometimes people just stick with a good story. Like Rowling seemed to have a good story and she just kind of built the world out from her story, whereas Tolkien seems to have a great world, and then he makes really interesting characters and puts them on a journey. And I think that's phenomenal writing. I love that kind of writing. So I'm kind of excited for the rest of this.
Then at some point he mentions the evil king of Cairn Doom in the land of Angmar. And then right after that he says, Tom is murmuring, few now remember them, yet still some go wandering, sons of forgotten kings, walking in loneliness, guarding from evil things, folks that are heedless. And I thought, is that Aragorn?
Interesting.
Or is that the Witch King of Angmar?
Angmar, I think,
Maybe.
yeah.
I think that might have been the name of the...
Yeah. I
You'll
think
get
that
there,
is,
Jen. But then I thought, well, he's guarding from evil things. So then I thought, could that be sons of forgotten kings walking in loneliness? Felt like an Aragorn thing.
Much of that. Anything with Aragorn is good. A little foreshadowing of Aragorn. I love it.
Is he gonna be in the Prancing Pony or no?
Gotta be, right?
I sure hope
I
so.
hope.
But I also thought it was weird that the Black Riders keep crouching,
Yeah.
crawling
I
twice.
thought they were Smeagol at one point, like
Yeah,
when they
like,
were
what's
on
going on
the
here?
dock by the ferry,
Right.
And it was not.
That didn't feel like what I was picturing. So then when it said it crawled away or scurried, I was like, oh, like, is that Aragorn?
Yeah.
Is it a Black Rider with a different like mindset than I'm used to in the movies? Or is it Gollum just creeping around? Did he
Yeah.
escape from the
Oh, yeah, yeah,
elves?
'cause
You
I thought it
know,
was,
like,
yeah.
so lots of things here.
I will say this too. In the movies, it's different. Obviously, we were just talking about it as different, and I think both are really good. It's one of those rare adaptations where like they changed it in the movies, and the movies, I think it's a great change in the movies.
Yeah.
But also when you touch on the books, it's different, but it's also really well done in the books. Obviously, it's like these creatures are a little creepier than they are in the movies, and the movies are maybe a bit more powerful and like able to like chase you,
Right.
which gives a whole different feeling. And the movies like followed a good vibe. The books have such a good vibe with this too, where I'm more unsure of things in the books than I am in the movies. In the books, I'm like, what are these creatures? I don't know what they are. I can't picture them in my head. It's like you're painting this picture in your head, which is really fun. So it's fun because I still know this world, but it's like I'm still painting a very original picture of this world
Yes.
in my head, which is so fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm loving this. I'm excited to keep reading.
Yep.
By the next podcast, we're gonna be done with book 1.
What?
Crazy. Not like all
Like
Fellowship of the Ring.
because book one is
Book 1 is
split
split into
into
2 parts. Yeah.
So basically halfway through the
yeah,
first
halfway
book.
through the first book.
We're
Which is
cruising.
pretty good.
It's hard to listen only.
Yeah, we'll do a combo.
But anything else before we
Well,
touch on
I
favorites?
just noticed that they longed for home. So I also thought, oh man, that didn't take too long. Then they're like barely out of the Shire, and they're like,
maybe they
oh.
lost track of time in the forest.
True, could have been a long time.
Yeah.
But they're like a deep loneliness. And then Tom's giving them advice, and I'm like, they better listen.
Yeah.
Another song.
Another
Definitely.
song.
It is interesting too that
Classic.
they like again, these are very well written emotions. Like, yes, there's people who can go out and they're like, the what's the word? Like someone like a gypsy, they can like go from place to place, no problem. Hobbits are not like that. Hobbits always need to be
Right.
rooted. So I like that they're only away for like less than a week right now, less than that maybe. And they're like, just want to go back to home, my bed. And, like
Right.
Bilbo or Sam on the first day when they're about to go off on the trek, he's like, oh, I just miss bed. And he's like literally laying in a bed
Yeah,
comfortable.
right.
And he's just like, I just miss, I'm like,
My bed.
dang. Yeah, maybe it's my bed. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's like a relatable feeling. As like a homebody myself, I'm like, yeah, after the first week, you're like, I just wish I was in bed. Which it makes it so much more admirable, again, that they just go do what they must do because they love the Shire, they love Hobbiton, and they're like, even though we're uncomfortable, we have to do this for our love of this place.
Yeah.
And it makes them such cool characters. I love it so much.
And I liked in one of the early chapters, it said the journey is more bearable just knowing that home still exists.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're thinking of home very often, and
Yeah.
they will continue to,
Yeah,
which
I'm
is
into it.
cute. They're also seeming to get a lot of spiritual support. It feels like there's something out there.
Yeah.
Every time something's going south, there's some
Yeah.
crazy character to come along and help, whether it's elves or Tom
yeah.
or Farmer Maggot.
Yeah, seriously, honestly. They're very guided in this right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, give me Hot Tamale, favorite character, and favorite moment in these chapters.
I had a hard time with them.
I hate these. I didn't have to do these in my podcast.
You
'cause I
hate
hate this so, like very rarely I had to do them.
Hot tamale, Goldberry.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hot Tamale should probably be universal for all of us. I think Goldberry is Hot Tamale.
Yeah.
She's like,
I'd like to think of like a fun answer though.
Goldberry
That
just
is
is the Hot
fun.
Tamale. Yeah.
So I feel like
Yeah, like waiting
what about
for
the
you.
Can I
like,
say like one of the
creatures,
ends?
The white.
Yes.
They're hot
That's
tamale energy.
so
Yeah, they
hot.
kind of are.
Yeah.
Creepy
and the,
tamale.
And the what?
Creepy tamales.
Yeah.
Yeah. An old man Willow.
Yeah.
Big time creepy.
Mm.
I'm not gonna create another one though, are we?
No. Well, we'll see what happens organically.
How about the horse fatty? That's a hot tamale.
Oh,
that
Fatty
is Hot Tamale.
Lumpkin?
Yeah.
Oh, lumpkin.
Yeah.
Fatty lumpkin.
That's good Hot
That's
Tamale
my
energy. I
girl.
like that. I think
Favorite character?
favorite character and favorite moment.
I really do like Tom.
Huh.
He had his weird moments, but
You were just bashing.
well, that's why I want to make sure that it's clear. He's easy to bash because I don't fully understand him. But part of that is also just hearing you guys talk about it, where when I read it, I only was questioning him very much when he grabbed the ring. That bothered me. But
Yeah.
other than that, it was only for like a few seconds at the beginning. And then I'm like, oh, he's cool. And so I do feel like he was my favorite character, and Goldberry, Hot Tamale. Because I think those moments, there weren't that many moments
And you
here.
saved
But
them.
my favorite moment, it's the moments of them eating at this table.
Yeah, I was
that
thinking the
feels
same. That's mine.
magical. It's like this
Yeah.
magical meal of simple things. It was like bread and berries and honey and wine and whatever. And then they're just sitting by a
Nice.
fire and listening to stories, and they forget about
Yeah.
time basically because they're hearing stories of everything from the past and all these like enchanting things. It just felt like really magical time where I feel like it was fun to read because I was being enchanted with the
Mhm.
hobbits, you
Yep.
know? So it was easy. It was chill. And
Yeah.
now I'm here and you guys are making me question it, but
No.
no, but now we know we can trust Tom unless he comes back.
Yeah,
in
and
an
even
evil
though
way.
I'm still creeped out by Tom, even though this, you know, if I don't know who Tom is at all in this, I could still think this is like they're being enchanted. I'm like, dude, enchant me. Like, let me
Yep.
have a meal and just like someone swap stories where I forget all about time and like let me fall asleep where I am just so comfortable and don't have to worry about anything. Even though there's like, you know, creatures howling around you, you don't have to worry about that. Put them out of your mind.
Yep.
I'm like, this is just peace, epitomized peace, and I want a piece of that.
Kit Kat.
Nailed it.
So this is definitely my favorite part of it. And then I still think my favorite characters are the hobbits. I don't really have an answer for which one. I do like Merry and Pippin. Maybe I'll give them the favorite character of this one because
Yeah,
they
the first chapter.
yeah, they're super loyal and they like commission Sam to go spy on them. They're like looking out for Frodo, which I really love.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great.
So true.
It's a little invasive of his privacy, but they meant well.
Like
Yeah, they
spies.
did mean well. And it just feels so playful and fun and
Yeah.
you know, I was like, it's great.
Yeah, like again, if you're good friends, you can do this. If
Yep.
you're not,
Yep.
that's creepy.
Exactly. And they really do feel like good friends. I feel like in the movies they felt like kind of like bonus friends, a little on the outskirts, like, oh, cool. Like
Yeah.
here you're like, oh no, they were like really good friends. Best friends.
BFFs.
BFFs. Lizzie, did you give your answers?
I second everything.
Oh my god.
No, I
Too
would
easy.
say
Ditto.
like Tom as my favorite, and I agree with the whole thing of staying at his house
Mm.
and the meal and like I don't know, just listening to his stories. I like
Mhm.
that.
Such,
Nice.
Yeah, it's hard to beat that moment. There's a lot of creepy moments in these chapters. That's just one of the
Yeah.
good ones.
Or maybe Frodo cutting the hand off. That's a
Mm.
good moment too. Of the
Little
barrow-
wraith, the
yeah.
Baron.
Or his confidence when
Or
he
wait.
continues to sing the song, and then he's
Yeah.
like more and more
Yeah.
like, yeah, I got this.
I can do this. He belts it out.
Which again, just like such a
Yeah.
funny dynamic of
The visual of
doing
that must have been
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
so
a very
fun.
small person
Yeah,
singing
I
a
know.
song.
Some empowering song.
It is great.
Hmm.
Well, we got
Ditto.
it. Last one, ditto on everything. Yeah, I feel like those are the good moments
Yeah,
of this
I
chapter.
feel like I can't think of anything. I had a hard time with the
Mm.
chapters.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But you got through.
they're good. Yeah, and I think we're coming up to some exciting
Well,
ones.
now I
at least
understand a
movie
little
ones.
more since.
But now it would be interesting to
Figured it
hear
out.
from someone who had gone through the whole series if where the peaks of excitement or boredom are,
Yeah.
because then it's like, oh, if you got through those chapters, then
Yeah, right. Yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna cruise through, you
Because
know,
I
like
just,
or
I
whatever
remember,
it is.
I just kept saying for Harry Potter, oh, you know, it just get this
Yeah.
is the chapter,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
was you had like
It
a hype
gets
man for
so
that.
good.
Yeah. These I think people were saying these chapters were pretty good. There's like a
Mm.
good amount of loyalty. There's like a good amount of adventure. I think I
Yeah.
think all these chapters are going to be like this. Again, it doesn't feel. It feels like each chapter is like almost like a bedtime story, which is why I love
Yeah.
books like this. It seems
Mhm.
like there's an adventure encapsulated in one chapter, and then they
Yes.
get at it. It's
Mhm.
like they get in, they get out, they have to go on to their next thing. The next chapter
Mhm.
is the same thing. Where like something exciting happens, they have to figure out a way out, or if they like talk to a person. You know, it seems pretty fun. So I'm excited for the rest of this. But that's all we got. Thanks for joining us on our journey of the Fellowship of the First Time Readers. We did it. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
What are we
more
doing
chapters.
again? 4 more?
Yeah, 4 more chapters will lead us right to the end of book 1.
9,
Just keep-
10, 11,
keep doing that.
12.
The sign of the prancing pony.
Yes.
Whoa, what, you got a bunch of
Me-
blues going on in there, Lizzie. What's going on?
My little
Those are your notes?
annotation.